Hi children, good morning one and all. I would like to welcome you all to today's video class. Let's start today's video class with a new chapter, The Greatest Stone Face Second. Actually children, this is the second and final part of the story, that is the Great Stone Face 1. So this is the second part, or you can say this is the final part of the story. In this final part, what does the narrator wants to say? Yeah, you are going to get the answer for many mysterious questions which you have faced in the first part. Okay, in the second part, whether the small boy, unnoticed boy, Ernst get answer for his enthusiastic questions. Let's begin with this. See, Ernst actually in the form of a recapture of the first part. In the first part, this boy, Ernst, was a small boy, and his mother kept telling him about the words of the prophecy. And the boy never failed to gaze at the great human face formed by the piles of the stone on the top of the mountain. So it was a very mysterious sight to him, and he discussed with his mother a lot about the human face formed by the stone. His mother also narrated or told him about the arrival of a human in future who resembled the human face formed by the stones on the top of the mountain. So Ernst, as a small boy, he was waiting for the day. His mothers also told him, kept told him about the prophecy. Someone who had the resemblance of the great face will soon appear. But what happened? Two wise men came to that valley. And he closely observed their face resemblance, whether did they have the resemblance of the human face formed at the top of the mountain. But to his disappointment, they were not the people who resembles the great stone face. So in the second part, whether could he found out the persons who resembles the human face formed on the top of the mountain. Let me explain. Okay, fine children. Ernst, in the first part of the story, he was a small boy, and he was guided by his mother. He heard a lot of story about the prophecy, about the words of the prophet. But now time passed on. He became an old man, and he had grey hairs all over his head. So with white hairs, he became so old. But one thing you have to remember children, his white hair shows not only the age but also his experience. He got wrinkles also on his forehead and scripts line on his face. All these physical phenomena, changes on his physique shows that he became an old man, but he became the wisest man of the valley. He became very wise. He was known for his wisdom. He became a knowledgeable person. Everyone in the valley starts to talk about his wisdom, and he solved many mysterious questions. He gave answer to many questions of the people, and very great people who were living far from that valley liked to come and have a talk with that old man, that is the Ernst. Even the college lecturers and the college professors, those who are working in the college and universities, also wanted to come and have a talk with that boy. To that extent, his wisdom became very popular. So he became very popular due to his wisdom. He became a knowledgeable person. How he reacted when his fame spread out all over the valley and all other places, he became very humble. That is quite common. People with great wisdom, or the people known for their wisdom, will be very humble and simple. He too became very simple. He invited everyone, those who wanted to meet him. He visited them, he greeted them, he gave nice answers. His face became bright when he started to talk with the people. He seemed as if he was mild evening light. Everyone liked to talk with him, and they put up with him a lot of questions. He answered almost all the questions. Therefore, he was liked by each and everyone, not only in the valley but also all other places. So he had become known outside the valley too. Many active men from the nearby cities, college professors, and people from far away used to come to see him and have a conversation with Ernst. He welcomed them with great sincerity and conversed with them with his heart, from his purest heart. That is very important. Saying whatever came in his mind at the time, or even sharing his deepest thoughts. As he talked to the people, his face became bright, and he seemed as if he was mild evening light. So now let's move to the second part of the same story. In the second part, the writer, the narrator, introduces another character. Who was he? He was no one other than the poet. He was also the son of the soil. He was described by the narrator as the second son of the soil. He was a poet. He was born in the same valley, but he had been out for a long time. He went out and he started to write many poems. He was entertaining the people there with his poems as well as the lyrical lines and his music. So people liked him very much. His poetical lines brought him good fame as well as name. He became very famous. But when he came to know about the Ernst, who became a wisest man of the valley, who was the wisest man of the world, when he came to know that people went and had a talk with him, the poet also wants to go and have a talk with him. He wants to share his ideas with him. Therefore, he was waiting for a day to go and meet Ernst. He get the great stone face alive in his poems. And more than that, children, Ernst also liked the poem of this poet. Whenever he had time, he never failed to read the lyrical lines of the poet. And whenever he reads the poetical lines, he immediately gasped at the great stone face. He himself developed an idea, an image that the poet may have. He thought in his mind that the poet might have had the resemblance of the great stone face. Ernst was also very much impressed by the poetical lines of the poet, and the poet too was very much impressed by the wisdom of the Ernst. So he was waiting for the day to come and meet and to have a talk with Ernst. Ernst was also waiting for the day to have a talk with the poet. Would they meet with each other? Yes, of course. Let me explain what happened. Whether did the poet go and meet the Ernst, whether the Ernst had a talk with the poet, what they have discussed, what was their opinion, how they exchanged their ideas, and all these things we will find the next part. Okay, let me explain, children. So, as Ernst grew old with every year that passed by, he came to know about the poet. actually who had come to this earth by the grace of God. So, although the poet was the son or a native of the valley, he had spent most of his life in distant cities and blessings them with his musics. Okay, so he even kept the great stone face alive in his poems. His work made it a way to Ernst, and after winding to his usual day's work, he never fails to sit and read the lines of the poet. Ernst would read while sitting on the bench in front of the stone face, and after reading the poems, Ernst would lift his eyes immediately like this. Why? To glance at the great stone face. He thought how he would kept alive the great stone face in his poem. That was the question he had in his mind. That much the boy was impressed by the poetical lines of the poet. Okay, as Ernst read the poet's works, he lifted his eyes as to see the great stone face, and asked him, he himself asked, if the poet was worthy of possessing or the resembling of the likeness, whether he had the resemblance of the great stone face. That question was raised by Ernst in his mind. The mountain appeared, as if it was smiling, but it did not reply. When the boy raised that question, whether would the poet have the resemblance of the stone face, he himself, under the impression, he had an impression that the stone face or the mountain was looking at him and it was smiling, but it did not reply. So on the other hand, although the poet lived far away from the valley, he very well knew about Ernst and had put so much thought into his character that he wanted to meet Ernst, who was so wise yet very simple in his way of life. Okay, next what happened? So the poet came. Now he wished the poet to be the likeness of the great stone face. Poet expressed his desire to come and meet Ernst. So now the poet sent a message and he expressed his desire to come and meet Ernst. He came to the valley. He requested him to allow him to stay there in the night stay. So the poet now meeting between the Ernst and the poet. The Ernst and the poet. So the poet expressed his willingness to come and stay with Ernst for a night. He also agreed to invite or to welcome the poet. The poet came and Ernst as usually welcomed and invited wholeheartedly, and he gave sheltering to him, and the poet stayed with him in the night. What happens? He came to the valley. He requested him to allow him to stay there in the night. So to give him a night's shelter, they talked to each other throughout the night. Each one was attracted by the greatness of the other. So wise, what a wise man you are, how gentle you are, how kind you are, what a lovely man you are. So these are all the words used by the poet to describe Ernst. The poet was very much impressed by the wisdom of the Ernst. He wished him, he appreciated him, he prized him for his wisdom, and he also appreciated him in all his poems. But now the Ernst had a doubt in his mind. He asked about his identity. When Ernst was appreciated by the poet, he was very much impressed by the very words of the poet. At the same time, he was very simple. He was so kind. He was very humble. Therefore, he politely asked the poet to reveal his identity. Now the poet laughed. He just wanted to prove himself Then Ernst, when he was talking to the poet, he had a book in his hand. He never fails to read the poems of that book. Then the poet noticed it and he told him, the book which you had in your hand is the book which was written by me. It's my book. You kept reading my book only. Then when Ernst came to know that the book was written by the great poet to whom he was talking now, he was so happy. So Ernst was very much moved by the great theme of the poet. Living images flung out of the poet's mind. Living images. Actually, living images flung out. Living images flung out of the poet's mind. So, now the poet came. The poet liked to discuss with Ernst about the great mountain face scene. Actually, when the first part, when he was a small boy, he was told and retold by his mother the prophecy, the words of the prophet about the great stone face, how it was formed there, who resembles the great stone face, when the person will come. So he developed such an attitude to meet the person who resembles the great stone face. So he grew up with that very idea in his mind. So, and more than that, whenever he had time, when he became old, now in the second part, he never fails to discuss with the people. See the second part. In the second part, Ernst had a talk with his people and with the people, those who came from nearby cities, and the college professors and the lecturers also came to meet Ernst. They discussed with him a lot about the great mountain face, about the great stone face formed on the top of the mountain. And he discussed with him a lot about the wonders of the nature. They were very much impressed, attracted by the words of the Ernst. When he was talking to them, they could witness the brightness on his face. With that brightness, he looks as the glorious evening light. So all these things had happened. So these reached the nearby town, nearby cities also. At that time only, the poet, who was also the native of that valley, came to know all these things. So he expressed his desire to come and meet Ernst. So he gave a warm welcome to the poet. The poet came and met Ernst. He requested Ernst to allow him to stay there during the night time. He expressed his willingness. So they discussed with each other throughout the night. Then the poet actually appreciated Ernst for his simplicity, humbleness, knowledge, wisdom, and his loving heart, his generic attitude, his tendency to help the people. So he appreciated him for all these things. And Ernst was very much pleased with the words. And he had a preview in his mind that this poet may have the resemblance of the great stone face formed on the top of the mountain. Then he requested the poet to reveal his identity. Then the poet expressed who was he. He was a poet, and he also told him that he was born in the same valley. He had been out for a long time in the nearby cities, and he entertained the people there with his lyrical lines and poetical lines. And he also told him the books which he used to read or he liked to read, and the poetical lines were written by himself. The poet told him like that. Then the Ernst was very much impressed because he was talking to the person whose lines he liked very much. And more than that, one more information I would like to share with you children. Whenever he reads the poetical lines, he never fails to look at the mountain. At that time, the mountain smiled at him. But he was under the impression that the mountain wants to say something. and he thought that the poet may resemble the stone face formed on the top of the mountain. So they discussed with each other a lot. Now what happened? The poet greeted Ernst by saying good evening and asked him to tell him a story there for night. Ernst agreed gladly as the poet further said with a smile on his face that he had never seen. The poet expressed that he had never seen the great stone face welcome a stranger so gently and kindly. These lines shows that now the poet considers Ernst as a stone. He was the one who had the resemblance of the stone face. So the poet sat beside Ernst and they conversed for a while. They discussed with each other for a while. The poet had never had the chance of talking to a wise, gentle, generous and kind, lovable man like Ernst. While on the other hand, Ernst was amazed as he listened to the poet speaking so vividly. So both of them were great people in their field. He was so generous, he was so kind, he was very intelligent, knowledgeable and a man known for his wisdom. On the other hand, the poet was also very good poet. He wrote many things in his poems and he kept alive the stone face in his poems. So Ernst never failed to read the poems written by the poet. Now he was talking with such a great person. Both of them appreciated each other. While Ernst listened to what the poet was saying, he was very keen. He was listening to the words of the poet. He visualized the great stone face bending to listen to him too. What an imagination, the writer says. When Ernst was talking to poet, the poet describes how he wrote the poems, how he made it so alive. So many things he discussed with Ernst. At the time, Ernst just looked at the face, the great stone face. He imagined, he got an imagination that the huge mountain bends down to listen to the words of the poet as well as the Ernst. As he looked into the poet's eyes, he just stared at the eyes of the poet. What happened? Ernst very politely asked who he was. The poet pointed to the book in Ernst's hand and told Ernst that if he had read that book, he would know him too as he himself had written it. So now what happened? See, he became so sad. Now let me explain in detail the conversation which took place between the two great people of the world. So he became so sad. Ernst became sad because when he was talking with the poet, he formulated an idea. He was under the impression, he had an imagination that this poet to whom he was talking might have the resemblance of the stone face formed on the top of the mountain. He would have been that person for whom he had been waiting for a long time. So with that intention only he discussed with him a lot. But finally what happens? Did the poet have the resemblance of the stone face? Wait and see, children. As soon as Ernst knew who the man was, what happens? He began noticing his features as he turned repeatedly towards the great stone face. He was greatly disappointed. Ernst heaped a sigh like that. So the poet asked him the reason behind his sadness. Suddenly he became so sad. What happens to you? Then Ernst told him how he had waited all his life for the prophecy to come true, and now he hoped that the poet would fulfill when he read his poems. So this was the words expressed. I had been waiting for a long time to see the face, the man who resembles the stone face. And when I read the lines, the poems written by you, I thought that you would have been the same person. But bringing a faint smile upon his face, the poet replied that he is not worthy. The poet told very plainly, "Yes, Ernst, I appreciate you. I bend down before your generosity. You are so great. You thought that I might have been the one who had the resemblance of the stone face, but absolutely it is not like that. I am not such a worthy person." The poet now explained, the poet very humble. The poet replied that he was not worthy of bearing the resemblance of the great stone face. He was not worthy. The poet says he was not worthy of bearing the resemblance of such a great stone face, of such a great stone face. When Ernst told him that he observed the resemblance of the stone face on the face of the poet, and when he read the lines of the poet, he developed an imagination in his mind that the poet might have got the resemblance of the stone face. Now the poet openly, vehemently, vividly explained, answered Ernst, don't misunderstood like that. Don't develop such an attitude. Please don't have such an attitude, because I am not worthy of having or bearing the resemblance of such a great stone face. I had a very good imagination. I am a good poet. I wrote many good poems. I kept alive the stone face in my poems. Apart from all these things, though I did all these things, all my imaginations remains as imagination. That's all. They never became true. Ernst asked the poet why he didn't consider himself. What a humble answer he gave for that question. Suppose if you are asked by somebody else, what immediately we will say? Yeah, why can't I be like that? I have all the features. I had a good memory power. I had good power in writing things. So I can give life to everyone else through my words. You can say like that. You can speak like that. But the poet is very humble person. What he said, his thoughts so beautifully articulated in his books. To be worthy of it, the poet replied that he was aware. The poet replied he was aware that his recite a distant voice of a heavenly song, but his life had been mere thoughts. He confessed that he had seen huge dreams. Asked why a man like Ernst. Now the poet says that they have remained only dreams. I had a very good thoughts. I could give life to all inanimated things, non-living things through my words. A poet can give life to the non-living things. Everybody can consider those things as living or living things, as he often lacked faith in his own thought. He lacked faith in his own thought. He lacked faith in his own thought. The poet says, though my imaginations, though my ideas are very valuable, they are well expressed in my poems. Everyone likes to read my poems, but all my imagination and dreams remains dreams only. They never become true in my lifetime. So how can I have the worthy of bearing the resemblance of the stone face? No chance at all. The poet very humbly expressed his opinion. He gave it as an answer to the doubt raised by Ernst. Then what happens again? Then now the poet further asked, why a man like Ernst, who was the constant portrayal of goodness and truth, would see the resemblance of the great stone face? What a nice words used by the poet. Let me explain it. Let me write the words on the board. Now it is a turn of the poet. When Ernst asked the poet, told the poet, wished the poet, appreciated the poet who has the resemblance of the great stone face. The poet genuinely refused, and he told that I am not worthy of having such a resemblance because I have very good dreams, but all those dreams remains as dreams, they never became true in my lifetime. And he in turn told Ernst that great persons like you might have had the resemblance of the great stone face. For that the poet used the following words: constant portrayal of goodness. See the word constant portrayal, constant portrayal of goodness and truth, portrayal of goodness and truth. These very words were used by the poet. He in turn told that the poet further asked, why a man like you, Ernst? You are a great man. You are known for your wisdom. You are known for your extraordinary speech. You convince everyone. See this picture. When he starts to talk with the people in the sunset, at the sunset, when the sun is about to set behind the clouds on the top of the mountain, people came and assembled. That is the meeting point, meeting place, where Ernst invited all the people to the meeting place. They used to assemble there, and he had a talk with them. He explained the secret of the mountain. So they never failed to listen to his words. So such a great man you are. So why can't you have the resemblance of the great stone face? The poet in turn appreciates Ernst for his greatness and humbleness, simplicity. So the poet asked a man like the sea, would the resemblance of the great stone face? For that what answer he gave? The poet said all of it in a sad tone, and his eyes were filled with the tears. Ernst's eyes had also tears in them too. See what great people. Usually children, do you know one thing? Great people never fail to accept others' talents. Great people never fail to appreciate others for their talents. But only people with the crooked will, immature minds, they always find fault with others. But you have to develop such an attitude. For that purpose only, these types of stories have been kept in your portion by the CBSE board. When you read these types of stories, you have to develop such an attitude. You should see the positive attitude of a person. Be an optimistic always. Don't be a pessimistic. Always look at the bright side of a thing. Always look the good things of a person. See, so when the poet starts to appreciate Ernst for his greatness, he would have the resemblance of the great stone face. He started to shed tears for such words, made him to shed tears. When Ernst appreciates the poets who have an immortal hands, who gives life to non-living things through his lines, he kept alive the stone face in his poems. All when Ernst appreciated the poet who had the resemblance of the stone face, he too started to shed tears. So both of them appreciated each other. Both of them considered each other as who had the resemblance of the great stone face. That was the greatest things happened when two great people discussed with each other. Next, what happened? So they just moved to the meeting place. As I told you, see, a meeting place. He never fails to meet the people there. Now he invited the poet to the meeting place. So when he was a small boy, see, he had a dream in his mind, an imagination in his mind about the great stone face. Now he became old enough to explain, to discuss those things with the people of this valley. Okay, now meeting place. Now Ernst had a habit of speaking to his neighbors. He had the habit of the hours of sunset in the open air. Therefore he and his guest went to the meeting place arm in arm. both arm in arm. The great stone face was also now visible from the meeting place. From the meeting place, now the stone face is very visible. Okay, next what happened? So the uniqueness of Ernst. See, let me explain the uniqueness of the Ernst. Okay. As he began speaking, now Ernst started to speak to his audience. Ernst radiated familiar kindness upon them. He spoke whatever came in his mind, in his heart. That's important. He expressed his ideas. He shared his ideas with the people. His words, the words of Ernst, had a unique power because they corresponded with his thoughts, and his thoughts were deep and practical. The thoughts, his thoughts were practical. That's important. Your thoughts should be practical. Okay, children, that is quite common. Whenever you develop an attitude, whenever you have a thought in your mind, it should be practicable. Unless otherwise, you may have an imagination, there is nothing wrong in it, but you should make it realized. Your imagination should become true. Further, what you have to do, you have to take efforts. You have to make your dream become true. Yeah, that is what Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, the former President of India, often suggests the same. He advises the students, have a dream, but it should be made realized. That's important. So he began speaking to the audience through his heart, through his mind. What he had in his mind, he just opened and expressed it with his audience. He spoke now. Okay, children, now both of them, that is the Ernst as well as the poet, both of them were in the meeting place. People gathered there and they were discussed about the stone face. See, so the people gathered, his audience gathered, he shared all his ideas with them, what he thought in his mind, because whatever came in his heart and mind, his words had a unique power. His word has a unique power because they correspond with his thoughts, and his thoughts were so deep. His thoughts were so deep and practical. That's very important. You might have heard the words of the great orators. They convince the people because their words have some magical powers. Their words are very unique and they have more power to shake the idea of the person. It should reach the heart of a person. Everyone should get attracted by the words. In the same way, the words of Ernst also attracted the audience. So his thoughts were so deep and practical because they reasoned with how he had always lived his life. When you speak with the people, really if it has the reality, then it really is liked by all. Imagination should not be behind the words. Okay, that's important. So he spoke plainly, practical, because they reasoned with how he always lived his life. That's important. He did not just preach, but he shared the words of life, words that were filled with love, and words supported by a life spent on good deeds. Yeah. So he shared such words which were supported by goodness, which were supported by the loveness and kindness, and all the words have life itself. Those words have close resemblance with his life because he got all such ideas, how he lived. That's important. So that was filled with love and supported by a life spent on good deeds. He did all these things he always lived for the welfare and well-being of others. He did a lot for the betterment of others and for the betterment of others' life. That's important. Throughout your life, you should do something for the sake of your country. You should do something for the sake of your parents. You should do something for the sake of your friends and teachers. We have to spend such a life. We have to live such a life which is useful to others. That's important. Don't think always about yourself and your well-being. So as the poet heard and speak, he thought himself that his life, story and the personality of Ernst was in itself a form of poetry. That's very important. So about Ernst. Now when he started to speak to the people, to the audience, now the poet got an imagination, got an idea. Your very words, the way you lived itself is a poem. Now the poet appreciated Ernst. Because only wise people can lead such a good life. Okay. Okay, children. Then something he had never written. Now the poet openly expressed, I had written many good things. I had written many things. I had written many things about everything. But I missed something to write. What he had missed to write, all the lifestyle and all the words now Ernst spoke to the people. He openly accepted. Yes, I left. He himself, he had never written something which was discussed by Ernst with his audience. Now the poet says, he had missed something he had never written. Something he had never written, which was discussed by the Ernst, which was in the minds of the Ernst. Whatever he wrote many good things, but he missed to write certain things which were discussed by the Ernst with his audience, to his audience. Now the poet realized. So he himself, how he had never crossed paths with a man. Although a few miles away, the great stone was clearly visible from their meeting point. The golden light of the sundown fell upon it along with the mist that covered it, just like the white hair around the head of the Ernst. Such a great man, known for his great wisdom. So everyone could notice it. Everyone could notice it. Stone face. See, at one particular moment, what happens? Ernst's grand expression was such that when the poet compared it with the great stone face, so when he started to talk with the people, when he expressed something to the audience, now the poet compares his expressions to the great stone face. He couldn't control himself as he threw his arms in the air and shouted, "Behold, behold," to draw everyone's attention to the face. That Ernst is the likeness of the great stone face. Now he declared, the poet, he called all the audience, look here, behold, behold, to draw everyone's attention to the fact, that Ernst is the likeness of the great stone face. Ernst is the likeness of the great stone face. So Ernst is the likeness of the great stone, was openly announced. Everyone could notice it. And finally established that the poet was telling the truth. All people accepted. Yes, see, all accepted that Ernst had the close resemblance of the great stone face formed by the piles of the stone at the top of the mountain. You just see, now all the people accepted that the great stone face formed on the top of the mountain had a close resemblance with the face of the Ernst. Everyone could notice it, and finally established that the poet was telling the truth. Finally, Ernst, however, finished his speech and held the poet's arms. They walked slowly towards home. And still, do you know one thing? Still Ernst hoped that a man wiser and better than himself would someday come and will be the likeness of the great stone face. How humble he was. When, see the last line, let me write on the board and then explain, children. So, the poet who was a great person, who kept alive the stone face in his poems, he appreciated the Ernst for his wisdom. He came and talked with the Ernst. Ernst appreciated the poet for his uniqueness in his poems. He called a poet as one who had the resemblance of the great stone face, and both went to the meeting place. There Ernst gave a long speech to the audience. Everyone was much impressed by the very word of the Ernst, and he spoke a lot. All his words are considered as words of love. It came from the depth of his life, and many people considered what he said was derived really from his life. And there sometimes you could find there is no resemblance between the words and the life of the people. But very great people lived a life which they advised to others. That's important. He never preached the things, but he lived according to that, what he suggested to others. That was noticed by the audience as well as the poet. Therefore, the poet called and described him as the one who had the resemblance of the face. Finally, all the people, those who assembled there, accepted that Ernst had the close resemblance of the stone face. With that very word, the meeting came to an end. Now the poet felt relief that he declared Ernst the wisest man in the world who had the resemblance of the great stone face. But what happened at the end, do you know, children? I would like to see. Ernst hoped that a man wiser and better, a man wiser and better than himself, will come one day, who will be the likeness of the great stone face. Who will be the likeness of the great stone face. Likeness of the great stone face. The word which was uttered by Ernst in his mind. How humble he was. We too will pray to the Lord Almighty for the happening of such things. Okay, children, with this very word, I would like to put the full stop for today's video class. At the last, I would like to show you the pictures. See the great stone face part 2. I hope now you have found out the answer for many mysterious questions which were raised in the stone face part 1. See, this picture shows when he was a small boy on the lap of his mother. He was guided by his mother. See, he became a great and the wisest person in the world, and he talks to the audience. So, thank you, children. I hope you have got a very good idea about this stone face 1 as well as stone face 2. Don't waste your time. Sit at home and read the book, and you can come across the very good lines of the lesson, and what you have witnessed, what you have observed in today's video class. With the help of such things, you can easily comprehend the message given in the lesson. Apart from that, if you have any doubts, you are free to call and you can discuss it with me. Thank you, children. Have a nice day.